The SCO Summit Council of Foreign Ministers is underway. Bilawal Bhutto, Pakistan Foreign Minister, the first foreign minister to touch down on Indian soil in more than a decade, in fact, nearly about 12 years now. Now, what is significant is the position that Bilawal Bhutto took. The Pakistanis said that we are here for peace, trade and cooperation, but you know that they are past masters at spinning narratives, and also they will always use any and every occasion to push their agenda. It was expected of Bilawal to show a certain level of brevity, but all that stands out in his remark and his statement when he addressed the SCO Council on that multilateral forum is that Pakistan will never learn. Pakistan always try to preach what they do not practice, and that currently, in the past, if they were towing the American narrative and the American line, right now they are firmly in the throes of the Chinese. His overt praise of the Chinese, his openly batting for the CPEC corridor, also shows how much of the Chinese agenda is being pushed by the Pakistanis. The other aspect, and surprisingly, that Pakistan has called or somewhere termed Afghanistan to be a safe haven for terrorists. And this is clearly opening up the front with Afghanistan, especially when Pakistan played a key role as America exited Afghanistan, and they are the ones who have planted the Haqqanis as part of the entire Taliban government. So it's very interesting when Bilawal Bhutto makes certain statements. His veiled jibe when he uses the word self-determination without openly naming Kashmir, him trying to tell India not to weaponize terrorism as a diplomatic tool, all of these stood out and everybody was listening. But it's a sorry state of affairs in Pakistan. On a day when Bilawal Bhutto was trying to teach India how to treat its minorities, from Gilgit all the way down to Sindh, there are multiple instances where people have been hurt, people have been hit, and people have been ravaged or brutalized just because they were minority. These instances stand out. For somebody to even voice their own opinion on the current economic hardships, that person from Muzaffarabad was brutally beaten up in Islamabad. In Sindh, there has been huge amounts of questions that have been raised on the unnecessary use of this blasphemy act to try and trouble people, minorities. An Ahmadiyya mosque has been damaged and demolished. This story also coming in from Gilgit. In Sindh, abduction and forced conversions of young girls from the Hindu and Christian communities, the Hindu girls largely Dalit, also stands out. In Lahore, a huge delegation going out and protesting out there at the Lahore courts and also in front of the offices there because of the fact that they allege that the Blasphemy Act has been so grossly misused as a tool, weaponized as a tool to try and torment minorities, Christians, Buddhists, Sikhs and Hindus. It's a sorry record that Pakistan has on every aspect that it wants to preach. Bilawal Bhutto on a multilateral forum has come out and uttered the word self-determination. Does that mean that the current Pakistan government is going to allow that right to the Baloch, whose territory they occupy for nearly 7 decades? Does that mean that they are going to allow this right to all of POJK, territory that they occupy forcefully? The people there have long asked for the right to self-determination. And as per the UN Charter, Pakistani army has to vacate that entire region all across. Will they do that? Because on the one hand, he talks about this narrative trying to take punches against India, but on the other hand, he is openly shown that they are firmly in the throes of the Chinese when he bats for CPEC, which is again being built largely on forcibly occupied territory, not on sovereign Pakistani territory, ladies and gentlemen. So this narrative, this bluff will be called out. Pakistan will not change its ways. China is going to use Pakistan as a tool to continuously poke, prick, and perhaps sometimes even embarrass India. In this kind of an atmosphere, how is the SCO going to move forward? One can take hope that nations like Afghanistan, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, Uzbekistan, these nations will also veer towards India. Nations like Russia will help India as a friend in need. And nations like China will finally perhaps see the wisdom somewhere that India, A, is not a pushover, B, it's not a place where they can actually downstream their industries and ravage our labor and our resources to try and push a Chinese hegemony, and 3, that India is culturally as old, as advanced, as aware as China is. If China is going to treat India with respect and look at it as an equal in this Asian surge, then there will be cooperation. Otherwise, we will have to look at semblances of perhaps cooperation amidst a lot of conflict. Bilawal Bhutto left a lot to be desired. There was much more that was expected, but then sometimes you expect too much. Bilawal Bhutto, has he done enough to go back home and say, listen, this is what I have achieved? Or has he done enough to perhaps further damage Pakistan's reputation on the international forum? One will have to wait and watch whether Pakistan will actually walk the talk on a lot of comments that they have raised. They have promised to work on climate change. They have promised to work on certain other agendas which they want to push. But so far as de-radicalization is concerned, so far as counter-terrorism measures are concerned, so far as not differentiating between state actors and non-state actors is concerned, these aspects, Pakistan still leaves a lot to be desired.